Okay, somebody brought up a good question, and it's about closing the mind. And I don't really, I just thought it'd be a good thing to upload a video about. I don't really just upload videos, I'm kind of like taking it easy, so I might do another one today, and then I might not say anything for the next 3 or 4 days, or it could be months. Who knows? But I felt like instead of like, really answering that question, I feel like doing an upload and kind of exploring it, because while I'm talking, I'm thinking and seeing what might come up, and so sometimes it's hard to reply back to folks. It's hard to reply back to people under a comment, because I'm trying to get my thoughts together. And the question was, how do you close your mind? And I don't know how you close your mind, but I do believe you can stop your mind and reduce the mind's ability to continue to influence your behaviors. Excuse me, I'm a sidebar right quick. I'm so sorry. Okay, I just did an upload about beliefs and standards, and I'm going to change the title to, I don't know what I'm going to change the title to, but I was talking about how people just like talk about how black women walk out with all these bunnies on. Like I said, I'm in an area where it's mostly middle to upper class white folks, right? And so I'm looking at black women right now, and they look like these white women that go to the gyms, right? They got the shakes, of course they wearing weaves, okay, whatever, but. And by the way, white folks don't seem to have a problem with their weave. It seems like the black people keep having this issue, but they look very nice. They look very presentable, which is why I have an issue with just stop saying black women go to stores with bonnets on. I'm looking at some very attractive black women right now that look like they look like they wearing these tight clothes, tight fitting clothes, like they came out the gym, and they all toned up and looking nice. They ain't looking fat and sloppy. That's why I say it has to do, sometimes the way people present themselves when they come out, it's not just because they're black. It might have something to do with their upbringing too. It might have something to do with the kind of area they grew up in, and is kind of based on income. Like areas like South Central, you see women wear those kind of clothes, they might look a little sloppy. But over here in this area where it's middle to upper middle class white folks, you see black women wear this kind of clothes. They look toned and nice. They look like they at the gym. They look like they keep themselves up. They look like they eat healthy. This is what I'm talking about. But so stop just saying black women walk out with house shoes on. That's a lie. But I'm sorry. That was so rude of me. Getting back to the point. Sorry. I was just looking at them. I was like, they look really nice. But getting back to the point. She said, how do you close your mind? Now, closing the mind is going to be hard, but what I can say from stop letting the mind have so much influence over you, because that's something I have to work on heavily. And the reason why that's something I have to work on heavily is not because we have the stuff that we deal with every day in life, but I had a mother who did not want to deal with her own fears. She did not want to deal with her own trauma. And so she forced her fear and her anxiety on me since I was a little baby, right? And so you grow up, you think it belongs to you, and it belongs to either your parent, your mother, your father, whoever was an influence in your life coming up, major influence, and the environment too. But a lot of times it has something to do with your first teacher. And so what I have practiced is that it is best to quiet the mind. People make meditation, because the person I want to talk about meditation, people make it seem like meditation is about sitting somewhere for 2 hours with your legs crossed and your hands up in that position with your thumb and forefinger together. That's no. And so when you think about meditation like that, you like, ugh. No, meditation can mean that you just take some time to get all of the just stop thinking about every little thing that you went through today. Take time, 5 minutes, to not even think about that. and quiet your mind. That could be meditation too. But the way meditation is used, it sounds so tedious. It sounds so boring. But yeah, the way that you can kind of keep your mind from really influencing your life and creating your reality is to every now and then kind of quiet those thoughts. Like if, I don't know, try to take 5 minutes and the thoughts that you have running around in your head, just try to let them dissolve just for 5 minutes. You let those thoughts dissolve for a second. And then when you keep doing that, you make that a regular practice, your mind will have less control over you. I have a different thing that I'm trying to learn to do with the mind, because from my understanding of the mind, you know, the mind is not inside your head. My understanding, the mind is a part of the matrix, and you have controllers of the matrix. I'm so glad that I heard this person say this. Of course, it's a person that's into conspiracy theories, and people don't take his word. Well, I don't take every little thing he say, but some things he say is right on point. And the reason why I feel like they're right on point, because it's been my own experience. And his name is David Icke. And he talked about how the government has figured out how to control your mind and implant little thoughts in your mind and kind of create your reality, and you think it's your own. It's really the government or somebody else that controls of this matrix. They call it the government. They're really just governing your mind, and so they call it government. But I don't know one name of this government. Name one name of this government. I just call them the controllers of the matrix. That's what I'm going to call them. Or the controllers of the matrix, whatever. And they have figured out how to control people's mind. They have figured out how to implant thoughts into people's mind, different thought forms that didn't originally belong to that person. I've kind of learned that your mind is kind of hooked up to a matrix, and the matrix is part of it's so interesting. It's kind of part of a frequency type of bandwidth or whatever. And the government has figured out how to implant. So when they do things like what they did with George Floyd, like what they did with this COVID stuff and coronavirus and all this other stuff, the government, when they sometimes I think why people just believe everything that's on media is because they don't understand how to control those thought forms, and they don't understand that a lot of those thoughts don't come from them. And this is white, black, Mexican, whoever, because, you know, I want to get to a point where we see that everybody is in trouble at this point. I want to get to a point where we can see that everybody is influenced by the manipulation of thought forms in the mind. It's, you know, instead of just putting it on one group of people, right? But anyway, so yeah, I would say, now if you are in a good position to not work, number one, I wish I was in your position. If you were in a position that you don't have to work, I wish I was in your position. Because if I was in that position, I would master controlling my mind. I would master it. Because that mind that's hooked up to the matrix don't really belong to you. Okay, that's something important to know. It's connected to a matrix, and it's connected to like a consciousness type of thing. And so something that's kind of just hooked up to a matrix, it's hard to really gain full control over it when it's controlled by the controllers of the matrix. And so you might have a certain group of people that think a certain way because of the like, say, black people, for example, the mass of black people, because you have a controllers of the matrix that created everything as a hierarchy. And if black people are expected to stay at the bottom, then you got to make sure their mind is never elevated. And so the controllers of the matrix are able to put thought forms and stuff to make sure the majority think a certain way. Same thing with white people, same thing with everybody else. Okay? But if you're in a position where you do not have to work every day, you're in a position where you can be at home a lot more, or even if you like work from home, but you don't have to be out in the public, that's still good. Because it's easier to quiet your mind. Because when you say close your mind, I think you're talking about quieting your mind. You want to quiet your mind. The more you're able to quiet your mind, the less your mind is able to influence your life. You know, negatively, that is, right? because sometimes, a lot of times, our mind influences our lives in a way we don't like it, but it's because of, our first teachers might not have been the greatest. They didn't want to handle their own demons, and so they push it on us as soon as we come out the womb. And then when you grow, you're trying to correct all that stuff, and it's not easy. People keep saying you can create your own reality. That's true, because I said that, but it ain't easy when you come out the womb kind of like that, and then you're getting your 20s, 30s, and 40s trying to work on that. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a job. And because that's a job, it's hard to work another job while you're trying to pay your bills. Okay, because that's a double shift. That's a double shift. And if you're in a good position where you don't have to work another job in order to pay your bills, you're in a doggone good position, because that gives you more time to not have to think about the world as much. Okay, you can just quiet your mind, even if it's like listening to some nice music or whatever. If you don't want to sit in no quiet room, because sometimes it's hard for people to sit in silence. People they can't stand just hearing it quiet. So like, even if it's like some type of music that you like to listen to, that's more calming, right? More calming type of music. But it removes it keeps your mind off those other thought forms that you had before. That's even good too. It's not always about sitting somewhere with your legs crossed and your fingers, your forefinger and thumb together. That's how they make it look on the doggone media. But that's why people don't like meditating, because they think it's this long, tedious thing and boring as heck. But anyway, I can talk more about that. As more I learn, I'll get more into that too. But I'll talk later. Okay.